So today's daily coding challenge is this particular set of instructions, and what we see here is that we've got this variable sort underscore list, and it's assigned the value of a lambda function, and the argument to the lambda function is x, and then we do an x.sort, and then we get back we assign a set of numbers to a list, and we pass this list into our sort function, and then we print out numbers. Now the question is what's the output going to be over here? And our original list is 3142, which just coincidentally happened to be the first four numbers in pi, the first four digits of pi, 3.14159. That's what was used. But anyway, are we going to get back just this unsorted list, as in it does numbers here, which gets passed into this list here, does it get sorted? And really the question is this list sorted in place or not? Because if this returns something back, if this lambda function returns something back, then the question is does it get sorted in place, basically? Because if it does, then we're going to get B, and if it doesn't, then we're going to get A. But we've got two other options here, which is none, as in is nothing going to come back. And I can't see why nothing would come back, because in our sorts list, we are going to actually, we are passing an argument into there, and the argument that we're passing in is numbers, and numbers is actually a list in itself. And we know that a lambda function returns something back, so the clue really is in the lambda function that it's going to return something back. But secondly, this dot sort actually sorts a list in place. So either way, it looks like we're going to get a sorted list that comes back. So our numbers is going to be sorted one way or another. There's no way that it's going to be none, and there's probably no way that this code is going to result in an error. So now, rather than talking about it, let's do it. And the first thing that we're going to do for that is start to actually implement the code. And here's the first thing that we're going to see when we do it, which is sort underscore list. We're going to assign it to this lambda function where the argument is x, and then we're going to do an x.sort. And the first thing is I have an issue with these types of things, is because we can't type into what x is over here. When we do the dot, we don't get all of the various methods, and I'm going to show exactly what I mean in a little bit when we do this. But I'll continue with this line of coding. So x.sort, just like that, and then we're going to say that numbers, if we spell it right, numbers is equal to, and then our numbers 3, 1, 4, and 2, 3, 1, 4, and 2, like that. And then we're going to do sort underscore list of numbers. So this set of this list here, this set of numbers, this list is going to be passed into the sort list, and then we're going to print numbers. Now, the thing about this is, before I run this piece of code, and I think that we're expecting back B to be the answer, is I'm going to take exactly the same piece of code and I'm going to create it over here. But instead of doing a lambda function, I'm going to actually make a sort list function. So def of sort underscore list to replace the lambda function, and it's going to take an argument of x, and it's going to return back. So basically it will return an x.sort. And notice again that we don't get anything after the sort, after the dot here on the x, because we don't know what type, or at least the IntelliSense of the IDE, and I'm using Visual Studio Code, but it'd be true for all IDEs, it doesn't know what X is, what type of X is. But the key difference here is when we define the function sort underscore list like this, is that we can type hint here and we can say that it's a list. Now, if we say that it's a list, we know we've got a list, and notice that this pops up, and that's much more convenient because we can jump straight to the method that we want. And also here, it gives us this extra clue: sort the list in ascending order and return none. The sort is in place, and this is the key bit. The sort is in place, so i.e. the list itself is modified. So we're going to get a modification of the list. So I'm just going to remove this bit now. We actually also noticed it that this x.sort here is now noted as well. And I wonder if I do comment this one out, because I did try to do this earlier. The x here, we see that. I wonder if I do, even if I try to say that x is of type list here, this doesn't turn into a yellow. So I prefer to avoid lambda functions, but nevertheless the original question had a lambda function. But nonetheless, over here we've got this sort list, and also we can see here that our list, well, it says it returns none, and I wonder if we need to type into that, because we're actually returning x.sort. I wonder if, just out of interest, if I break it onto 2 lines, it still says return none. So that's interesting, because I think that we're actually returning a list in itself like that. And I was hoping that we would see that, but maybe it does return none. Nevertheless, let's try and run this piece of code in parallel compared to the top code where we've got the lambda function. So I'm going to run this one first, and we actually do get a 1, 2, 3, 4. And I guess on here, because we've got the sort list here, it's still saying returns none, even though we are returning x.sort. But that's probably because we're just doing an x.sort immediately, which is basically looking like this. X. Even though we return none, so this definitively returns none now, we still will have sorted the list, and that's kind of like the key here. So when we run this, we still get back this. So our list has been sorted because of the sort function, which we saw. It says over here, sorts the list in place, i.e. modifies the original list. So it wasn't so much as to do with the function as it was to do with the fact that we use this .sort method. And likewise over here, so it was a bit of a red herring, but we still get the same answer. We get B in both cases, but it's because we've used the sort method, and actually not because of the lambda function or because of the sort list function. I do tend to avoid lambdas where I can. There are some cases, not very many, where lambda functions are necessary, so we have to understand how they work. But regular functions are much more convenient, and we could see that we could convert our regular function into a one-line function if we really wanted to, which is kind of like why I tend to avoid the use of lambda functions, because I get here something that actually looks a bit better. And if I did want to remove my typing from there, I've cost myself barely any extra code whatsoever. And in fact, in many cases, actually, if the function name was a bit shorter, I'd probably actually even save on the code. So, and certainly here, if I wasn't doing a sort, if I was doing some other operation like squaring or something, the function itself, the full function definition compared to the lambda function, would be shorter. So that's basically it. We now know our answer. We know our answer in both ways, and we know that we are sorting the list in place. And that's basically it. So that's the answer to our daily coding question. If you found this useful, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, hit the follow, subscribe button, and all the rest. And even if you didn't like this video, still hit the thumbs up, like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you.